by placing detainers on these individuals, we actually help improve public safety by taking these criminal aliens off the streets and ultimately removing them to their country of origin.
Whoops. Coming up here on the show, I play that because that's an official from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I'm going to tell you this story here in a couple of minutes, but there's been yet another case of somebody who's in the country illegally who kills an American citizen, and then the local elected officials refuse to honor an ICE detainer on this individual. Another example. They happen all the time. I'm going to get to all that coming up, so stick around. Right now, I want to welcome our guest, Susan Pendergrass, in. She's from the Show Me Institute. She's the Director of Education Policy, because as I tell you all the time, educational freedom and school choice is a big deal over at the Show Me Institute. Susan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Before we start on this legislation that's going on in Jeff City, give me your definition of charter schools. I mean, they've been around for a long time, but I'm still not sure everybody really understands what purpose they serve.
Oh, sure. So they've been around about 25 years, and they were just an opportunity to expand the public school system so that teachers, parents, community leaders who had an idea that they wanted to try to implement, that something innovative, could open a public school, and they would have a limited amount of time, 3-5 years maybe, to fill the seats and to meet performance targets. And if they don't meet them, they're closed. They're closed.
So they have to come up with it and get kids that actually want to enroll there.
Exactly.
Parents that want to enroll.
Public schools.
Yeah. So it's not. It's still part of the public school system. It's not really you being able to put your kid wherever you want. It just gives them more choice than they currently have.
Correct. Because the kids are all different. One size fits all doesn't work for all of them. So it's an opportunity to have different types of programs within the public school system.
So like the performing arts schools and things like that pop
language
up.
Immersion.
The language immersion. That's what they are. So in Jefferson City right now, there's a bill pending that because somebody's decided that we need more study on this? I mean, is it a question of potentially the fact that it's run its course and we may not need this anymore? Would you have any idea what they're after?
Yeah, so there was a bill to expand charter schools to the whole state of Missouri so that parents across the whole state could choose one. And we know from a survey that 1 in 6 Missouri parents would choose one if they could. So it's going to expand them across the state, make it easier to open charter schools. And then all of a sudden a roadblock got thrown up where the chairman of the Education Committee in the House decided that rather than expand them for the rest of the parents in the state, we should take 2 years out to study them. 15, 16 people on a task force to put together a report by the end of 2019 to talk about things like how they're funded and who goes to them. And literally, you could Google every question in there and be done in an hour. Like, one person with a computer could have answered all the questions. I can answer them almost off the top of my head if they had asked me. But instead, I just think it's a way to, to say you're sort of for them, but then not actually put it in place.
Is it an economic question? I mean, is it a matter of whether or not the state is spending too much money on them?
No, I think it's a matter of the powerful special interests of the status quo, just wanting to keep things going the way they've been going. So it's not really, they would say it's a money issue, but they're public school students and they take their money with them if they move from Springfield to Columbia or whatever. They're a public school student, so the money would be in their school. But it's more a matter of, the people who have been running things for decades want to keep running them, basically, and not let any new maybe competition or threat in.
Interesting, because I know there was recently some controversy over DESE and who served on that board and who the governor wanted on there and who was going to be in charge, because there was a concern that it had been controlled too long by just the people with the superintendent's point of view, right?
That's exactly right.
So are the teachers' unions for or against charter schools?
Typically against.
Okay.
Again, they're part of the status quo, and anything, and I say in Missouri, right, because across the country there's millions of kids in charter schools. There's suburban, rural, there's all sorts of charter schools, and a lot of places have used them as like a tool in the toolkit, right? Like Denver public schools.
Right.
They've opened a lot of charter schools, and they see them as a positive, but for some reason in Missouri, they still are just a threat to the status quo.
Yeah, and I see that. You wonder, sometimes I sit here and I wonder, well, Republicans have a super majority, right? Like a veto-proof majority, even though you have a Republican governor now, it's not as big of an issue. I've wondered why we haven't seen more of a move for more school choice. I know that the vouchers are it's a four-letter word for a lot of people, but I'm completely in support of that.
Right. And 2/3 to maybe 70% of people support that and support school choice, and especially younger parents, they very much support and want the right to choose where their child goes to school versus having to pack up and move. I mean, if you can move, that's one thing, but you shouldn't have to move.
Right.
And a lot of parents can't. So parents want to be able to choose their child's school, and in things like this commission, this task force, that just stops that choice for a lot of parents.
Yeah, and there's a piece up on the showmeinstitute.org right now, so people can read more on this and kind of get background on it.
There's a couple of blogs and some other things too, and also reach out to us. But definitely, we have a lot of information on showmeinstitute.org, and I just think it's time to support the parents instead of the status quo.
Yeah, is there information on there maybe on who sponsors the bill, or I guess generally people should just get a hold of their local legislator and let them know how they feel about it.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just think it's time to move forward and not take two more years to study something that's been studied for 20.
Which basically just slows down progress in that category. That's for sure. Listen, Susan Pendergrass, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mark.
Go to showmeinstitute.org to read more on that study and many other things and all the great work they do over there.
Thank you.
We're going to get to a quick break. We'll get back